Team, good afternoon. This is case study number 10, part 2, Graham, BCT 217, group 11. I apologize ahead of time. Currently on daddy daycare, so bear with me. The agenda: define problems, problem set A, problem set B, final tips and takeaway. Defining problems. All right, issues abound. So this is what the professor had. Key things here are these days substantiated? I know we talked about up to 20 days extension, which would set us very far behind. So, have you kept an updated log to verify these days? So, we're going to say that 10 of the days are verified, 20 out of the 20. So, 10 days are legit, 10 days are not. All right. And then B is, do you offer a bonus, right? Dollars per day for finishing early versus the penalties of finishing late. Again, we're looking at 10 of the days are legitimate versus the 20. And we're trying to avoid having to pay $40,000 or $20,000. All right, problem set A. All right, GC doldrums. All right. And again, this is a great question by the professor. Like this is a tough one. I had to do some research. So as a GC, did you set a flow down to stipulated LDs with the sub? All right, can we split the cost, contractual and legal, or can we mitigate? Do we keep a good log and schedule? All right. So ultimately, what is happening here with, we're going to say that 10 days are legitimate. So we are now 10 days behind schedule. Did we forecast this? If we are in a stipulated LD with the owner, right, and then we did that flow down to the subcontractor, right, and these are legitimate days, and we've caught it soon enough and having that transparency and flexibility with the owner and with the sub, we're able to forecast it and then mitigate those 10 days with a change order so that everyone's on the same page. Everyone saw this coming. Things happen, rain, act of God, wrong material shows up. These things fall deeply into that, and they can hold up in a court of law, right? If we did not do stipulated LDs, and we didn't set flow downs to the subcontractor, we're going to have to pay for those 10 days, right? Ultimately, if they're 20 days late, we're going to have to pay for those 20 days. So how do we figure that out? Well, that's where the good bookkeeping, good law, good schedule keeping on our end, right? So if we've done that and we see that time is of the essence and the subcontractor has kind of, with the exception of 10 days, that extra 10 days, he's going to have to, if you can prove it in the court of law, and we did the good bookkeeping, and we can say that 10 of these days out of the 20, you're just making stuff up. There's not substantiated. My log says this. You're blaming this trade. They're saying that they were good to go. They don't know what you were doing. You were just smoking and joking. That's where this he said, she thinks come in, but time is of the essence. So that's where you can kind of hold them more accountable because you, as the GC or the GC's management team, have accurately maintained those documentations, maintained that schedule, and you've already communicated this with the owner. So that is a way from problem set A. Problem set B. ROI. OT and bonuses have a place. How do we mitigate ROI and losses? Is the 20 days legitimate? Again, we're talking about the 20 days being legitimate. OT and bonuses. So OT, for those that have worked OT or managed people that have dished out OT, it's really good for a while. And then it really, really drops off and people are just kind of around soaking up those extra funds. And bonuses have a place, right? So you kind of have to mesh that, maybe work out a plan with a subcontractor, right? And you're having to pay for this. Like this is part of what you scheduled into them, and now you're having to dip into your bank and pay them this, right? In hopes that we can get back on schedule and not have to pay a big bonus or a huge loss, right? Again, hope that you've done a flow down, from to the subcontractor. If you didn't, right, you really didn't take the steps to protect yourself as the GC or the GC team. If you did, though, and you do the bonus and you do the OT and they're still late, then yeah, through the stipulated LDs, he's going to have to pay out. Worst case scenario, all the bonus and the OT that he paid is paid back to you, but now you're that late, right? And ultimately, it's going to cost you money down the line because the whole project's going to be delayed. Best case scenario is you kind of come in close, you pay some money out in OT, some bonuses, but schedule's back on track, right? And then it comes back to the days, right? They said 20 days, they finished at the 10 days. You're going to have to work with a subcontractor and be like, again, with the good law keeping, the good schedule keeping, the good, your job to maintain good books, right? You can substantiate these days versus their claims. So again, if 10 of those days they're out smoking and joking, or they couldn't get their team together, whatever their excuse is, right? You're going to be able to negate those days, right? But that falls on you to ensure you have good bookkeeping. Tips and takeaway. I think really a big part of this is being transparent with your owner and with your subs, right? Keeping those good books and having days built in your schedule for this, right? With proper backing, all right? So it's really important during the bid process that you do a deliberate stipulated LD, like the research is there to support, hey, we're building in central Pennsylvania in April. We're expecting some rain delays. It's going to happen, right? So we want to plan an extra couple days during this period just simply because either the site's going to be too muddy, or we're going to be in a torrential downpour, or if you're dealing with metal, there's a lightning storm. No one wants to be, 10 stories up in a metal building. Not a good time. So you can get those days verified with a little forethought and planning, and then have that built into the bid process. If you do not do that, you're going to be held accountable for that later on down the road, right? And that's where it comes with flexibility and proper planning, right? If we're able to be flexible, be transparent with our owner, with our subs, and kind of mitigate and plan this out, like, hey, there's a potential delay coming up during this time frame due to these things, right? Everyone gets a little bit more warm and fuzzy because now you're able to plan it out and have a couple days. Maybe this is where those bonuses come in. Maybe this is where you put an OT, like, hey, come in on a Saturday, I'll pay time and a half, $50 an hour, 4 guys is $200 an hour for 8 hours, but get you, 2 days back on track, or get you 2 days to the good. That's money well spent versus, the possible $10,000 you're going to have to pay in LDs. So that's where, that planning and mitigation comes in. Effective log and schedule management. I think it's super important as you go through this process, right, that you're staying on top. You're having those conversations, you're having those meetings, you're well in tune with the project instead of just rolling up and be like, hey, where are we at? We're good, thumbs up, cool, I'm going back to the office. That's not going to bode well for you down the road, right? If you're there and you're being part of the team, you're seeing the management, seeing where things at, ensuring that the proper material is arriving at the time that it's supposed to be, you will successfully help mitigate some of these issues. Team, I'm sorry for being quick and not as quite up to par as some of my other ones. I want to apologize about that ahead of time, but I got to get back. Hope everyone has a good Easter weekend.